Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Farha Kareem and today I'll be sharing with you some of the tips and tricks while facing the Google interview. If you haven't watched my previous video yet, here is the link. You can go and watch it to know my experience of facing the interview. Otherwise, let's get started. Come on. Tip number one, start preparing. There is no real escape from this because you don't bake the cake without knowing the ingredients, do you? At least I don't. So, some of the topics that you need to prepare on are algorithms, data structures, CS fundamentals, and object oriented programming concepts. These were the topics that my recruiter asked me to prepare while I was preparing for my interviews. Tip number two, have the KKPP or Kalli Valli attitude, aka maintain your cool. Why is it sun right behind me? Never mind. If you're going to be tense during your interview, you're going to mess up the interview like I messed up my first one. Nevertheless, I performed well for my second interview because I was super chill. Tip number three, act smart. This part is about you asking clarifying questions to the interviewer once you get the problem in hand. For example, if the question asks you to get an input from the user, you can ask questions like, should it be just an integer or can it be a floating point value also? So this gives a smart picture of yours in the interviewer's mind. So catch it. Tip number four, impress the interviewer. And how do you do this? It's by talking your ideas out loud. So once you start approaching the problem, it's better if you could speak about it. This is the way I'm planning to approach the problem. Is this okay? Or otherwise, okay, I got a better idea. I think this is the better way to approach it so that the interviewer is also on track with you. Otherwise, you are somewhere here and the interviewer is somewhere there, and there's a very big awkward silence, and he doesn't know where you're standing and he's trying to come there. I hope you get the point. Tip number five, ask for optimization. Once you arrive at a solution, you could casually ask the interviewer if the solution could be optimized. So there are two possible replies for this. The first one would be like, yeah, this is exactly the same solution I had in mind. Come on, let's get started on coding. If this is the reply, you're on the safe side. Nothing to worry, get started on coding. The second reply would be like, I had a better solution in mind, but since we are running out of time, we could stick on to this. You can start coding. No worries, you still have time to impress the interviewer if this is the reply that he gives you. Tip number six, act shy when it comes to coding. Because this part should be initiated by the interviewer and not you. If he doesn't initiate it, it means that your solution has still a lot of room to be optimized. That means you still haven't arrived at a proper solution or it's not the right solution and you still need to work on the solution to make it perfect. So never rush to get your hands on coding. Can I start coding? Tip number seven, always have your interviewer's attention on you. This is by constantly blabbering whatever ideas you have on your head, or maybe constantly reading out whatever you're typing on the computer while coding. So, this lets the interviewer stop focusing on things around him and give his full attention to the code that you're writing. So, once you make a tiny small bit of error, he could directly point it out to you so that you could make the change and get your code perfectly out. Tip number eight, know the company. This is because after you're done with your code segment, you'll have a session with the interviewer where he would ask you questions like, hey, is there anything that you would like to know about Google? Hey, is there anything that you would like to ask me? And most of the interviewees at this time will show their super creative nature and ask questions like, hey, how is it like working in Google? I think it's high time that we stop asking such common questions to the interviewers where he would be like, hey, I think you should get introduced to a Google product. It's called the Google Chrome. So these were some of the tips that came handy while I was attending the interview and some others which I wish I knew before attending the interview. So hence I compiled it for you guys to watch. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Next video will come up next week. Until then, bye!